My fiancé is probably going to leave me after I botched my proposal. After being with each other for a little over a year, I proposed to my fiancé, who we will call T. I proposed to her after we got done watching a movie at home after an absolutely splendid dinner date. We were cuddling and I was feeling so full of love and I felt that this moment was great to ask for her to marry me. She happily said yes and we ended the night passionately, so I thought that it went well. I was so very incorrect. Apparently after thinking back on the night, T thought that I was being impulsive and would have liked something a bit more planned out, that she deserved a proposal story she'd be happy telling others about. Besides, he asked me on the couch. I agreed with her. Even though my expression was genuine and I truly wanted to spend the rest of my life with her, I could have gone about it better. We talked for hours about how we should go forward and I made the decision to dedicate myself to improve and give her what she truly deserves from me. And I actually delivered. I cooked more, I took her on spontaneous dates tailored towards her interest, consistently keep the house clean, started planning a re-proposal that would be truly memorable, became more dependable by taking obsessive notes on what she wanted or needed so I wouldn't ever forget again. Now, normally it's hard to make that kind of lifestyle change that quickly for me, but I did because she truly matters to me and I want her to be happy. I slipped back into old habits a couple times, but I would get back on track and I'm happy to say that she changed me for the better in many aspects. I wanted to be a better person for her. After about 7 months of working on myself and what I thought was a vastly improved relationship, she began to kind of pull away over the course of a couple days. Started kissing me less, started going straight to bed instead of wanting to spend time with me after work, going to her mom's house a lot, etc. I asked her to please tell me what's wrong multiple times over this period and she just kept saying that she couldn't tell me. Eventually, I guided her into our room, sat next to her on the bed and pleaded to her to let me listen to her. She finally opened up and confided that even though I've done everything right by her after the proposal, she still can't stop thinking about it. She appreciates all the effort I put into the relationship, but she doesn't feel convinced when I tell her I love her when she thinks back to idiotic, stupid, impulsive decision I made. Those are my words. This really hurt to hear, but I told her I understood and maybe we can give couples counseling a real shot. She agreed that might be a good idea, but she is already kind of flaking since she's never been super into the notion of counseling the other times I've suggested it. Even after our most recent talk she still doesn't want to talk long, she flat out dodges my greeting and farewell kisses, and is now currently at her mom's house for the next couple of days. She said she still loves me and wants to stay, but her actions feel like they scream an entirely different reality. I'm honestly at a loss of what to do now. I've genuinely become the best version of myself because of her and I feel her slipping away. Comment. Worse, she said yes, then decided to think on it and decided it wasn't good enough and, reading between the lines, decided had to make a bunch of changes to who he was and how things worked in the house before she say yes, along with having the fairytale proposal to brag to friends about. She sounds incredibly manipulative and is playing some kinda game. But I don't really get it, spending 7 months doing this then pulling away. Maybe someone got in her ear and told her she needed to trade the engagement for every change she wanted from you. Maybe after 7 months she realized she just turned into a weird abusive manipulator and is pulling away because of that, or maybe because sounds like he basically gave in to someone being weird and manipulative and changed themselves into someone she actually wasn't that attracted to anymore. Either way, her behavior is very odd, manipulative, entitled, and not someone you should be looking to marry as is. I was wondering if she's afraid of commitment. Saying yes in the moment cause she genuinely wanted to be with him, then sending herself into a panic. She felt all this anxiety yet she didn't have concrete reasons to doubt the relationship, so she looked for and then invented a reason to do the thing she'd already emotionally wanted to do before having a logical reason, pulled back. And now that is doing all the things that should make her old reasons obsolete, she's pulling away more. And not engaging possibly BC she still doesn't want to go forward but doesn't have any good reason for that, and doesn't want to admit that the reason is a deep emotional issue of hers and not something comfortably external. As usual here, this is purely speculative but I think it's at least a plausible fit. A big tell for me is that as her logical reasons are crumbling, she's pulling back entirely or inventing new ones. Similar to conspiracy theorists. You can't logic someone out of a belief they didn't arrive at logically. I often find that people who get totally hung up on one single instance or thing like this are usually using it as a cover, be it to themselves or to others, for something they don't want to acknowledge. It's like you're saying, She either has some kind of issue with commitment or just doesn't want the marriage but wants the relationship, or possibly not that either, but doesn't want to have to think or talk about it, so it's easier to delude herself into making it about that one unfixable specific thing. I mean, being so avoidant of counseling seems like a huge sign that she doesn't actually want to solve this issue or figure out why she feels this way. As a human in a loving relationship, I think that proposal was amazing, and if my partner impulsively asked to marry him in this type of scenario, I wouldn't be upset, and I think it's actually a really cute story. You were having such a wonderful night with the person you love, so much so that you knew in that instant you wanted to spend the rest of your life with her, and couldn't wait another second to ask her to marry you. Maybe it's BC I am a homebody and I wouldn't want something big and attention-drawing, like a public proposal or anything over the top like a room full of long-stemmed red roses and an orchestra or something playing some meaningful song to us and have my partner wearing a tux or something. If it was in front of people I'd be embarrassed, as I hate being the center of attention, and in either circumstance mentioned above I'd feel pressure to say yes, even if I wanted to. But this is me. I think your proposal was perfect and cute. And who cares if you didn't have a ring or whatever? That can be sorted later. Unfortunately, it seems nothing you do for her will ever be good enough. You won't be enough. This isn't saying you aren't enough, it's saying she can never be pleased, and she will always see you as less than, which again, you're not. Do you really want to live your life like this? Wondering why you aren't enough? Bending to her every whim, and still not being good enough? Dedicating so much of your life, energy, mental well-being to trying to be enough, only for her to move the goalposts every time you reach one? Sorry for the long comment. My ADHD meds aren't working LOL, and I've been in a situation where for almost 6 years, I was never enough for the man I loved. I loved him unconditionally and changed everything about myself to be in line with what he wanted, and it wasn't ever enough. He was abusive, controlling, he cheated on me and sprayed my cat in the face with diluted white vinegar. I left him, and I'm so glad I did. BC now I know I am enough. I am loved, no matter how small the gesture, my partner appreciates it. And that feels wonderful. You should want to feel wonderful too. You need to take this to heart. A huge number of people I know had less than ideal proposals. I almost proposed on a sidewalk. BC I was nervous before going into a fancy restaurant, then when I did it inside the fancy restaurant I knocked a beer over all over her. We laughed. It's silly. That was 12 years ago and we have 4 kids now. You didn't do anything wrong, you did what someone who is in love would do. This bitch is a bitch, and as much as it hurts, you can do better unless you proposed at her ex's wedding or did something tacky or offensive like a dick in a box or something. A proposal should never be the reason things go south in a relationship. You deserve better. My husband did something similar to what you did. I walked in through the door, and he proposed. It was lovely. It was a $50 pawn shop ring because it was what he could afford, but I loved it. When I asked him why he did it the way he did, he told me that I kept almost finding the ring, and he knew he wanted me forever, so he just did it. We have been together for 19 years and married almost 15. You deserve someone who really, truly loves you, and I really don't think she's it. My husband asked me right in front of the trash can in the kitchen. Next February we will have been together for 30 years, married 29. Young people these days have such an image to uphold, it seems. The focus is way on the wrong things. I can't even imagine where I'd be had I got pissed off about the fact I didn't have some fairy tale engagement story and walked away. This is really crazy, and you're gonna be working to try and make things right about every single action you make she doesn't agree with, forever. Life is way too short, man. I know an old woman who still uses a plastic ring because her husband was so extremely poor at the time he could only afford a plastic ring. If someone really loves you is gonna accept anything, a good $50 ring is more than enough, is not something that makes your love be bigger because of the cost of how many diamonds it has, is just a thing that says to everyone, I got someone who loves me. Story 2. I just realized my wife doesn't love me. Today I came to the realization that my wife doesn't love me. She said she does, but her actions over the years show that she doesn't. She loves the life that I have given her, but not necessarily me. My wife is a lovely person, whom I adore and treat like a queen. She had been working up until about 3 years ago when she was diagnosed with a disease. She would at times help with household chores when we first were married, but doesn't help with any daily housekeeping. She doesn't clean, vacuum, wash clothes, do yard work. She pretty much just does the dishes and that's it. She doesn't make much money now that she is on disability. She contributes little monetarily. The amount she contributes basically covers her cell phone bill and cable TV bill. I pay everything else each month. She does treatments every night but goes to bed around 2 a.m. and wakes up anywhere between noon and 1 p.m. There were many times where she wouldn't do anything for my birthday or Father's Day. I am give her and shower her with nice gifts for special occasions and gifts just because I love her. I mean, I'm talking Louis Vuitton purses, bags, diamonds and nice shoes. A lot of those things I could probably overlook. The thing that really has been in the back of my mind is something that happened last year. Last August I had a heart attack. I was feeling bad when I went to bed and woke up at 4 a.m. with really bad chest pain. I went downstairs to find the blood pressure cup to see what was going on. It was really high. I started sweating, had a hard time breathing and sick to my stomach. I sat down for a few minutes. I looked up signs of a heart attack and I had them all. I drank some water and felt a tiny bit better. I decided to drive to the hospital. I know it was stupid, but it's a fairly straight shot and it was early in the morning. I got to the hospital and they fast-tracked me through and started running tests. My wife woke up at 11 and noticed I wasn't home and tracked me on the Find My iPhone app. She texted me and I told her I was in the ER and they thought I had a heart attack and I had all the markers. I was taking nitro and they gave me bunch of other things, which helped. She came up to pick up the car and dropped off a couple of things. She then left and went to dinner with her friend. The next day I'm still in the hospital and I was hurt. She went to dinner when I'm in the ER. I told her not to come up and well, she didn't. She only came up to pick me up to go home. She's been in the hospital about 6 or 7 times. I would visit her every day when she was in the hospital. I would bring her flour and treats. I would wait in the ER every time to keep her company. I only missed one day and that was because she was supposed to be released and I was waiting till she was sprung. This has been sitting on me for the last year. It's not getting better. We had a fight that I instigated today. I told her how hurt I was and she said my feelings always get hurt. I asked her if her mother, sister, or grandfather was in the ER with a heart attack, would she go back home to be with them, and she said yes. After that answer, I knew she isn't in love with me, just loves what I give her. She doesn't understand that she isn't giving any back in return. She is like a roommate at this point. A roommate that doesn't pay rent or help take care of the house or do much of anything to make my life better. Comment. Life is too short to live unhappy and unfulfilled. Why stay with someone who doesn't care about you? I don't know what her disability is, but she could be depressed. But the fact that she's not compassionate towards you but expects it herself is enough. Glad you figured out the situation. Now you need to figure out your path forward. My first wife hated me and my father realized it before I did. I'll tell you what my father told me when I was where you are now. Son, he said. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but do not spend the best years of your life trying to fix a problem you can't fix. If you do, you will end up bitter and unhappy. Act accordingly and take care of yourself since no one is. And if you can get through all this, you will feel better and you will ask yourself, why did you tolerate it for so long? Life is short. My husband had a stroke at work while we worked together. He was the manager and I was basically his assistant. I was so upset that I had to basically take him to the ER and then go back to work. I was freaking out the entire time and wanted to go to him. Once the afternoon shift came in, the morning shift already knew what was up. I asked a morning shifter for a personal favor to stay for a long shift so I could go to him. She said yes, and I had to double check everything was okay, before I could go check on my husband. We quit shortly after that. This is a horrific realization, and I'm so sorry you've had to come to it. As someone who's chronically ill myself, I still do whatever I can for my husband to make up for how little I'm able to financially contribute. I do have to fight through the pain, but I still try to make us dinner, do our laundry, take care of the cat, food, litter box, and medication, and keep things overall as tidy as possible. I've always been afraid of what would happen if my husband got sick and ended up in the hospital, but the only reason I wouldn't be in that room with him is because I've literally been admitted myself. My father's illnesses compounded last year, and I managed to fight through the pain to be there to take care of him, despite us having a very complicated relationship. I know I would do the same and more for my husband if he was in that position, because he's done it for me. You deserve the same. I don't know. I feel Op is glossing through his wife's health condition. She gets treatment every night? She's now on disability? Heck, that would make me depressed and suicidal. Is she in constant discomfort and pain? Is she depressed? Op somehow just ignores all that like she should be over it by now. I had surgery an hour away for a large tumor many years ago and my husband was there nearly every day. I cannot imagine not being there when my husband is in the hospital. I have chronic illness and really am a horrible housewife. Absolutely awful. But you can bet for those days that matter I'm on it. And if he were in the hospital for anything, I don't care if it were an ingrown toenail, I'd be there. Why stay with someone who doesn't value you?